Welcome back to Orange County's Real Estate Hot 30. I am Lena Fayyad, and next to me is,
I'm Holly McDonald.
how are you doing, Holly?
Great. How about you?
Good, trying to stay away from this heat as much as possible. So guys, welcome back. I know we've been a little bit MIA just about our podcast. We've been busy selling homes, as you can tell. Just wanted to come on here and really update you guys, as wanted to see how the last few months have been going. With the current situations, it really hasn't stopped buyers from finding their dream home, and we wanted to prep you guys for what's to come towards 2020 and 2021. Holly, why don't we start with how busy we've been, the new homes we were seeing come up, the new inventory, the old inventory being gone. What can we tell our future buyers?
So what's really interesting about this year is that even though it's been a slower year in terms of the number of new listings coming on the market, there have still been homes coming on the market, and there have been a lot of buyers out there despite all of the situations that are going on. So we're seeing an environment where there's low interest rates, which are really prompting buyers to want to go out and invest now. And also, I think if people are seeing homes that will work for them, they're realizing that this is a good time to swoop in because they might have less competition. And I think in general, that's definitely true. In a normal spring market, you are likely to see multiple bids. And while in some cases now we are seeing multiple bids, it's less intense because, you know, this is a very strange time that we're in, but with the lower inventory and the lower interest rates, homes are selling, but as a whole, we still see less homes on the market, and we see less buyers than you would normally see in a regular hot market.
I agree. I mean, I even tried to take my buyers out to this specific home, and it was just 2 days on the market, and they had 7 offers. So as you could tell, they're like, you know what, we're bombarded with backups. So I'm sorry, they weren't willing to show it. So I just want to let buyers out there know is, you know, even if we start looking today, and like you said, there will be probably more competition after the new year. And like you said, buyers want to wait for, better interest. I mean, nothing better than the current interest rates, I feel, but maybe lower prices or anything like that. But you're really juggling one or the other, I feel.
Yeah, I think the best advice I've ever heard from, financial advisors is just that if you're in a position to buy a home financially, then it's a good time to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Then, obviously you do want to factor in, like, how is the economy doing? How are interest rates? How are home prices? But if you can afford a good home at a good price now, given whatever the interest rates are, then it is a good time to hop in because you're financially able to do it. Now the interest rates, they're so low right now. I've had clients that have told me stories about getting rates in the 2s, which is, almost unbelievable, unfathomable. Could they go lower? Anything is possible. Will they? I don't know. It's unlikely. I mean, right now you are absolutely in a position to get the best rates of all time. So if you can lock that in, you are in great shape. I mean, you're beating inflation on what you would pay back. And I just think there's no better time in that regard.
Yeah. And especially with people's now with the whole pandemic, everyone's looking for more outside space. And, so all these homes with these little intricates, a pool and things like that, I feel like they're flying off our inventory list so fast. I can't personally keep up. So I've been seeing people work with builders to even fix up their homes to make them, more exciting for the new buyers next year or something like that. So I've been seeing people modifications to their homes, fixing pools, things that didn't work, trying to make them work, because they really understand that people stay at home is really what's happening still currently,
Yeah, well, home is supposed to be the place where you feel most comfortable. And in light of what has been going on in our country in the world, actually, in the last 6 months, everybody is realizing that there is absolutely no better place to feel comfortable than your home. So from what I'm seeing, contractors, builders, engineers, home improvement shops, they are all slammed right now. And like you said, Lena, I mean, people are looking for their little own outdoor oasis, or their niche in their home that can be used as a home office, because these are the things that are like part of our lifestyle now. And I mean, they're probably going to be ingrained this is not probably a short-term transition at this point. I mean, we've all kind of been living in this bubble for the last 6 months. That's a significant change. And I foresee that people are going to be working from home a lot more in the future. And, you know, I'm sure once people can travel again, they will be excited to get out and, you know, go to tropical beaches or go to, you know, foreign cities and all of that. But at the end of the day, I think there's going to be a little bit of a pit in people's stomachs thinking, oh man, I really better have that like backup plan, because what if we ever go into quarantine again? Like, I better love my yard, you know, like, where am I going to go? All the parks are closed. Everything is shut down. Hopefully we don't get to that point again, but now we all know that it's a possibility. Like, we actually lived through it.
Yeah.
And people also adapted a bit too. I mean, obviously more people are hosting small groups from home and everything. And, you know, you want to be a good host and enjoy your space. So you have all of that set up, then everybody's happy.
And like you said, even if people do, you know, decide to in the future travel and stuff, they still come back to their home that they feel safe and secure in, no matter what happens, I guess, in the future, because now people are putting pandemics in their forefronts when they're buying homes. They're putting, what happens if we get locked down? Do we have enough space for the kids? Can the kids run around and not feel like they can't go to the park, or things like that, you know?
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of families also taking into consideration like a designated space where their kids can focus, because a lot of the kids are doing virtual schooling right now, and they need a space where they can focus and have that, you know, sanctuary to do so. So that's also become very important.
Oh, wow, that's right. I mean, I could only imagine if you have kids in different class, you know, grades and all their needs. Wow, that's very correct. So what do you recommend for our, you know, buyers out there to get pre-approved? I know a lot of the qualifications have changed, but I know you and I really insist on our buyers getting pre-approved because of all the different qualification changes after COVID that happened. And I have first-time buyers that want to go see a home without a pre-approval, and I'm just letting them know, you know, sellers won't even let you in their home if you don't send one and sign a Corona entry form. So that's how they're sifting and sorting through serious buyers and non-serious ones, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so not all homes are commanding that you have a pre-approval to enter, but yes, there are certainly some that are. And if you're a buyer and you want to go after a hot property, like Lena said, some of them are getting multiple offers in the first couple of days. So if you're not competitive and have a pre-approval ready to go, if they're reviewing offers right away, then you don't even have a chance, you know? So it's so important. And also just for your own expectations and for your own time to just have a good idea of what is going to make the most sense for you qualification wise, where you need to be savings wise, where you need to be monthly payment wise. These things are also important. And, you know, the rates do bounce around, and you want to also be able to stay in contact with your lender and see how that impacts your payments. Because I think one of the noteworthy things right now is that, you know, before the pandemic, like 3.5% was a killer rate. And now I'm having clients that are getting rates in the mid twos. So if you look at the same property, I did this out last night on a listing that I have. I have a listing in Costa Mesa. The listing price is $640 and it has an HOA, but let's, you know, kind of take all of that aside. Overall, at the 3.5% payment, if you could get that same property with the same terms, but at a 2.5% interest rate, you'd be saving like $300 a month. So it's a huge difference in your affordability. So, you know,
and your mortgage every month for X amount of years.
Like, it's huge budget. And then when you factor in like how interest compounds over time, I mean, you'd be saving hundreds of thousands over the life of the loan. But I mean, even just in your monthly budget, $300 is a big thing. I mean, think what you can do with $300. So that's part of the reason why, you know, if you're a buyer and you're like hoping, okay, cool, maybe the prices are going to come down because we're at such a high point in the market, there is a chance prices will come down. There always is. I mean, real estate works in cycles. But if you're waiting for them to come down to the point where it's actually going to make sense for you to take a higher interest rate, because when the prices come down, those interest rates are probably going to go up. So it's a balance. And if you can afford that house today for whatever price, but at the low interest rate, and you're happy and comfortable with what that monthly is, then
why not go for it? Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I look at it, because buying a house is a long-term commitment. It's not like an apartment where you might just like turn in your keys in a year. Most people that buy a home are, they're either going to live there for years and years, or they're going to own it for years and years. And, when you can lock in the lower rate and just have that all kind of set in stone and work your budget around it, it's just so much easier to plan.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. And I really agree about that. And again, buyers out there, if you have any questions or need any lender recommendations, we work with a few great groups and people, and we would love to send you out those recommendations. That's it for me. I think we're doing great. The market's busy. At least, it fluctuates, I should say, but so far we're staying steady. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think here we are, it's almost September. It's almost, the end of the year. Yes, as I mentioned earlier, there have been less homes for sale. Obviously, there have been a lot of external factors contributing to that. I predict that just like any year, there's likely to be less homes available as we get closer to the holidays. It's just not the ideal time. But of course, this has not been the ideal year. I also expect that there's going to be probably some sellers that recognize that these are really hot market conditions. They are competing with less people, interest rates are low, buyers are out there looking and have very little options. So I think it's important that if you are a potential buyer, that you realize that you might as well just keep looking and just be poised and ready to strike if the right house comes along, because there's going to be some sellers that are super savvy and realize that, hey, maybe I should try to sell in October or November when I have very little competition, because if I wait till February, March, April, when I, normally would think hot spring market, we don't know what the spring market's going to be like next year. And what we do know is that most likely, unless, short of the pandemic again, there's going to be more inventory. There's going to be all this pent up seller demand from everybody that wanted to hit the market this year and just, their life got turned upside down. So I would expect that there will be more inventory next year, which is great. But I also think that you could totally miss out on the perfect property if you're not looking. So it's just good to keep your options open, because I have clients that are looking now that have found their dream properties, and
nice.
They were getting discouraged too by the lack of inventory. And I personally, we talked about this in one of the last podcasts. We were discouraged when we bought our home too, because we just kept waiting and waiting. And we're like, oh, nothing good is coming along. Maybe we're just going to have to wait until this whole pandemic is over. But then it came along. So, if you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it. So I would just say, keep your eyes open and have pre-approval ready, and just be ready, because if the right one comes along, would you really want to miss out? And then, next spring, summer, look back and say, oh, that was the one that got away. You don't want to look like that.
There's going to be so much, I feel, many, like double, triple the buyers too by that time, you know?
God. Yeah, totally. So. Oh yeah, because there are going to be more people that are out there that were maybe not in a great position to buy this year. We do know that there, as a result of everything that has gone on, some buyers were not able to qualify right now. Like maybe they had job issues or, anything that resulted from the pandemic. And, hopefully that's all going to be a thing of the past, and then people will be in a better qualifying position soon. But, and there's also going to be sellers that chose not to sell their house, but are looking forward to moving. And when they put their house on the market, they're going to want to move up. And so then you've got those people that are sellers plus buyers. It just adds more buyers to the pool,
True. Oh gosh. Well, I actually look forward to it, and I really am interested to see how the last 4 months of the year kind of wind out, because when the first pandemic started, I kind of got worried. I was like, what, we're going into a recession? And then it proved me wrong. I feel like, yes, we did slow down for a good period of time, but then hey, people picked up their shoes and they're out there house hunting. So my buyers out there and doing the COVID rules, the mask, the gloves, everyone's used to it by now, so it's part of the norm. Signing a COVID entry form is just also part of the norm now. I think people are used to it, so I don't have a problem asking for it. My buyers have no problem signing multiples of them for different homes.
Yeah.
So kind of get them, kind of get them informed before they have to do any of that, that's just the procedure. And I feel they respect that. And
I agree. I agree. And I think that it's also just important to note because our market is fairly insulated. If you look at national headlines, they do not paint such a fluffy, flowery image of the real estate market. Obviously, there's a couple of things you have to remember, and we can go into this more on a future podcast, but nationally versus Orange County locally is very different. Our market has had it's been very hot in the last few months. Like Lena said, like ever since May, it's really been almost on fire. We've almost never seen shorter market times despite the low inventory, or maybe because of the low inventory. So our market is doing fine. There are, obviously we have to look at each case specifically because, you might see a house that's been on the market for a while and be like, oh, that house is sat, so the market's not good. But, there's obviously, you have to look at the whole picture because overall our market is doing fantastic. And then the other thing is that the national headlines are also focusing on sales data from the last couple of months, when they do all the averages. And we are coming out of a time where even Orange County was slow. Obviously not a lot of homes sold in April because everyone was pretty much stuck inside. So when you start to look back at averages, some months were going to be really low, and some states nationally are still kind of on lockdown. So their markets are obviously going to reflect that. So when you average everything together, it's going
to seem like we have a bad market. True.
Yeah. So we just want to emphasize that locally, the market's really strong, and we would be happy to send you actual data to prove that if you have any questions, and you can kind of see what are the home values, like have they dropped, how fast have they sold, have they sold for above list price. All of these factors help you to determine whether it's a hot market or not, and we have seen it's been
You're totally right. We really are in a special, unique area out here in Southern California. So I usually don't, I hear the national news. I then go back and look at our own metrics and statistics and be like, well, it's Orange County. You can't fight it here, So we are in good hands. And if you guys want a market update, we'll be more than happy to shoot that over for you. Holly, thank you for your time. And I look forward to selling more homes with you the last 4 months of the year, and keep going. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I guess we'll come up with a great topic that's relevant for next time, and hope to see you next week on our podcast.
Thank you for watching OC's Real Estate Hot 30. I'm Lena Fayyad.
I'm Holly McDonald.
See you next week.
Bye.